today we're making kefir. It's really like a yogurt with all the beneficial bacteria, only it has a lot of differences. It's runny. You basically drink it instead of spooning it like you would yogurt. It can be very tart. It can be effervescent, little bubbles on your tongue, and it can also be slightly alcoholic. But you control that by how the temperature that you ferment it at, for how long you ferment it, and whether you encourage an aerobic or an anaerobic environment by keeping the lid on tight, keeping the lid on loose, or even just putting a cover over top of it. This little clear area right here is called whey, and you can actually use that in you're making your vegetable fermentation. If you don't want to use so much salt, you can inoculate your vegetables with some whey and salt as well. But we're going to start out with, we have the raw milk, and raw milk is not pasteurized, it's also not homogenized, so you need to gently rock it back and forth because the cream is going to be on the top. And I've already done that, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some milk in a jar. And then I'm going to put it in this pot of hot water and let it get to kind of similar temperature. I don't want to shock the bacteria. I want it to be kind of the same. I don't want it to just all of a sudden go into some cold milk. So while we're preparing it, it'll just sit there. And then I'm going to prepare this. You can see it looks kind of gross. And then I'm going to just dump that out in there. And then I'm doing the traditional way. You know, sometimes you do things and you don't know why you're doing them just because you've been taught to do it that way. And I was taught never use metal, so I've got a glass bowl, a plastic colander, and a wooden spoon. So, you know, sometimes we find out later on, oh, they were really smart. I don't know how they knew that, but they somehow did. So I'm going to, it takes a few minutes to do this, so I'm going to do a cut here, and I'll come back to you. I've been separating the kefir from the scobies for about a minute here, and these are called scobies. There, I have a couple out there for you. And a SCOBY is a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. It came from the Caucasus Mountains in Russia probably about 1,000 years ago. So these are offsprings of something that's 1,000 years old, many generations. You cannot buy these in the store. You have to get them from somebody. The ones that they sell in the store, they do sell some kefir culture, but it's like a photocopy after so many times, it's no good anymore. You can get maybe 10 batches of reuse, but then you have to get buy new ones again. This one batch here can last a lifetime. In fact, it's an obligation almost. It's like a child. In fact, we call it our babies. We have some friends here, and when we go on vacation, we have to have somebody take care of our babies. You can put them in the refrigerator for a week or two, but then they kind of go into a little bit of shock, and you have to get them back to the taste that you like, because they've taken on a different texture, taste. So anyway, we just put these in the milk here. By the way, I had this on the stove, but I don't have the stove on. I was just using it as a surface. This is just hot tap water, just to warm the milk up. So I'm just going to put these in the milk here. And swish them around a little bit. And that's it. Put a lid on it, or not. And then just put a cloth over it, put it in a cupboard, and forget about it I like mine really sour, so I'm going to forget about mine for about 4 days. But I keep checking it for the amount of whey. So I like to see a fair amount of whey, so the more whey, the sourer it will be. And then the kefir, you simply pour into some container here. And then you put that in the refrigerator. Put a lid on it, put that in the refrigerator. Don't forget which one is which. They keep multiplying, so at some point you need to either give them away or eat them. Man, they're really chewy. They're like calamari.